The impetus behind these ordinances was really just to reestablish ourselves in the city of Chicago as the most pro-worker city in the entire country. Quite frankly, our goal is to be the most pro-worker city on the planet.
Thanks so much for joining us. What are these ordinances and what are they saying? What will they do for Chicago workers?
Well, we have a paid time off ordinance. It's the most progressive, expansive paid time off ordinance in the country. Sick paid time off, as well as paid time off for vacation.
If you work in the city of Chicago, starting in larger workforces, you will get 10 days of paid leave. That includes 5 sick days and 5 days of personal time off.
We also have abolished the sub-minimum wage. Tip workers will get a raise every year until they are caught up with the minimum wage.
These ordinances are intended specifically to help raise pay and increase the quality of life for some of the city's most vulnerable workers. What have you heard from these workers about what impact this will have on their lives?
What I've heard repeatedly is that, one, not having to choose between going to see your doctor and going to work, or not having to choose between being available for your family or taking some much needed time off versus having to show up to work every day because you want to ensure that the ends meet for those family members that you are, ultimately working for.
What sort of opposition and resistance did you see when you were trying to pass these ordinances?
Too often there are these competing interests that believe that if you do something that's favorable towards workers, that automatically associates with you as an anti-business.
But a coalition of nearly a dozen business groups said the city council sent a very clear message that they do not support Chicago's business community, adding the measure will devastate Chicago businesses.
And it's just not true. Having a workforce that is stable as well as protected is better for business, right? Because it eliminates, the churn or the turnover that tends to happen when workers are unsatisfied. What we ultimately are doing is providing a pro-worker agenda that benefits the economy. And anytime the economy benefits, that actually strengthens our business community as well. And that's ultimately what we were able to impress upon the business community, that your business grows when the economy grows. The economy grows when workers are ultimately protected and fully invested in. And that's what my administration has effectively been able to do.
I'm curious what other city and state lawmakers can learn from what the city of Chicago has been able to do for workers in your city.
What I believe other statewide and city leaders around the country should pay attention to is not just a larger political movement of workers, but quite frankly, understand what Dr. King spoke so eloquently about a generation ago, when he talked about civil rights and labor rights. This has to be able to move beyond state lines as well as party and political lines, because anything that we do to ensure civil and labor rights for people, that's good for everyone.
And so what message would you send to mayors across the country about government's responsibility to make this happen?
We have seen an entire generation of austerity and privatization that has proven to be disruptive and harmful, particularly to Black and brown workers and women workers. Local government is better positioned than it has ever been before to begin to rectify the disruption that has been the prevailing form of governance for an entire generation in this country. We're seeing real examples of how our policies are transformational, and I would want other cities to recognize where they have their power as well. And that power is tethered to people. As Dr. King said, if we can do it in Chicago, and I'm generally speaking here, we can do it anywhere in the world.
Thank you so much for watching our video. If you'd like to see more stories like this one, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel to get more Perfect Union in your feed. And if you have any ideas for stories that you would like for us to investigate, just drop them in the comments below.